This is Graphite Radio.
What's going on, people? I'm your conductor and instructor, AD Frank, aka Adrian Franks. Want to welcome you to episode 2 of the Graphite Radio Show. So I want to kind of get you guys up to speed on what's going on at Graphite Pro. A couple different things going on right now. I am actually updating the website to expand some of the offerings that I've been tinkering with, when it comes to this idea of mentoring, career coaching, and specifically right now when it comes to the creative field. Basically I'm kind of going to stick with that for the time being and scale it beyond that because that's kind of like my area of expertise. But, at some point I want to kind of grow that beyond just the creative sector, especially when it comes to like other types of, business, entrepreneurial, creative-minded people. Now, currently I have, 4 things I'm going to offer, which is career journey mapping, which is an exercise where you look at a person's kind of overall, like where they started, where they are, where they want to go when it comes to their career, and help them map out certain things, pain points, passion points, and ultimately give them like a good strategy. Portfolio mapping. I know we live in a world where the portfolio is always ever changing. So is there a different way of looking at portfolios? Definitely self-branding, right? Because let's be honest, we all walk in brands. Brands are important. People are brands, brands are people. So what is the best way to actually brand oneself? And obviously, what does presentation skills look like in like a 2025? Because at the end of the day, you still got to sell what you are, what you do, and who you want to be, and ultimately getting people to buy into like your experience as your own personal brand. So that's what we're, more or less working on at the Graphite Pro website itself. But before we go any further, I do want to give a shout out to all the people out in LA that are dealing with these terrible brush fires. I know a lot of people are losing a lot of memories, a lot of their homes, potentially, lives, and just overall being displaced. And it's very, tragic. And my thoughts and prayers goes to everyone in LA. Hope you guys have somewhat of a speedy recovery, and I think it'd be great for all of us as, Americans and just human beings can figure out how can we contribute to help our, brothers and sisters out there overall just dealing with issues. So let's move on to the news. There's 3 or 4 things I want to talk about today, right? One is in the realm of, colleges and like specifically art colleges. They're kind of going through like a decline in enrollment, which is interesting, right? Because, like any other college, they have their issues. Comcast is actually introducing this universal ad system, kind of revealed it last week at CES. X is launching this brand new chatbot that's called Grok. Hope I'm saying the name right, but whatever. And then let's lastly maybe talk about Meta, right? Meta is always in the news, right? They're kind of going MAGA, but they're also doing some things that are gonna, I think, affect a lot of what it means to be on a social platform. Just overall, just moving forward, right? Especially when it comes down to fact checking and misinformation. So let's kind of get into the topics. A friend of mine by the name of Dominique Poon sent me this article about art schools, specifically independent art schools, facing like these significant challenges when it comes to like decline of enrollment. And as you know, like schools across the board are probably going to be suffering with this because the cost of going to school has gotten, obviously just crazy when it comes down to like, the tuition. I think when I was in school, started designing art school back in 1995, I attended DeKalb Tech, then I switched over to AIU. but I was, going to school for visual communications, which is essentially advertising design, right? I think tuition was like maybe 15,000 a year, something to the extent, something like that, maybe 17. I can't really remember. Been a while. But as you know, schools now are costing anywhere up from like, I don't know, 40,000 to 60,000 a year. And that's like very modest, right? Some schools can easily be more than that. So by the time people come out of school, they're going to be pretty much damn near hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So overall, that's like the landscape of schools. But if you're not talking about art schools, right, they're definitely competing with like design finishing schools. They're competing with like 4-year liberal schools. They may have certain kind of programs. But, in particular, when it comes to like being a creative or an artist going to these type of schools, like that's just the cost to walk through the door, right? Just to walk through the front door and maybe sit down in a classroom or a studio. You still got to consider other things like, the cost of buying a laptop, the cost of buying software, whatever software you may be using for your program. If you're a painter, now you got to think about paints. If you're a sculptor, you got to think about like material and, studio time to actually make this work. Or if you're a photographer, you definitely got to get a camera. Or if you're into like video editing, you got to think about like a lot of cameras and lights. But overall, just going to art school is always going to be that, additional cost besides the tuition. So I think that a lot of these schools are more or less dealing with the pain points of just the cost, right? Everything is obviously up. So that's the landscape. Now, possible solutions. Maybe there's a way that, students in the community that they're part of, or even like certain municipalities can offset the cost of attending these schools. There are certain countries, when they send their kids to certain schools, a lot of times the country may actually figure out a way to kind of subsidize the tuition, if nothing else, right? Is there a way that we can do crowdfunding for like creatives? Because I do think the more you have less students going to art school or a creative type environment for learning, society could suffer. Society could suffer in a way that you're going to have less people coming up with ideas, less people being able to design, and less people actually just moving culture forward and producing culture. Now, we can say, we can do that with AI, but let's be honest, AI is only as good as what you put into it. It takes people to come up with ideas first and tell stories, and only people can tell a story. AI can come up with a story, but nonetheless, only people can really tell the stories. Now, these outcomes, as I just mentioned, I do think we need to figure out ways to not just subsidize art schools, but schools in general. But, me as an artist and a designer, I'm a little biased. I do think we kind of need to figure out ways to make sure those institutions don't fail. Otherwise, we're just going to have a society of just a bunch of people punching code or not even working or not even just generating like new thoughts and new ideas. So that's my take on that. So on to the next, Comcast Universal Ads. So, if you guys been following all the things from CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show out in Las Vegas, Comcast, they unveiled this new ad technology called Universal Ads. Essentially, it's a advertising platform that simplifies the premium video inventory buying process. Ooh. Well, that sounds kind of geeky, but think about it like this. Again, I used to work in advertising. Whether you're a creative, you're a producer, you're the account person, maybe you're somebody that is kind of like just leading things up from a strategy point of view, right? But you all got to deal with the media guys. They're ultimately going to take all this beautiful work that you created and they will place your ad, whether it's going to be on network television, radio, some out-of-home executions. Maybe they're going to do some things on social or whatever, right? Like advertorials or like product placements, whatever. But, now a lot of that kind of work is more or less being digitized or streamlined to be in a digital environment. And it seems that this universal ad is more or less creating like this marketplace where you got the buyers and sellers of subset inventory. Now, understanding how this usually works, these guys seem to be taking this technology and applying it in like 3 different areas. One is around the growth of small to medium businesses. Again, when you're like selling ads, you can do it regionally, you can do it nationally, you can do it, very hyper local, but nonetheless, the goal here is to try to place ads where people's attention is going to be, right? If you're not thinking about the new landscape of streaming or over the top consumption of videos or something that's in between. Well, that's kind of like an infinite amount of like time, right? People time shift. They don't have to tune into a show at a specific time. They can just watch it when they want. So if you're trying to be, assistant for small to medium businesses, how can you help these guys more or less place their ads to capture your attention? So it seems like this platform is going to allow for being able to target these small businesses with people who are consuming or watching, streaming. Now, the next one, from my understanding, is going to be around the actual buying of the inventory. This marketplace where you can buy premium content and you can sell it and you can track things pretty well. And you can even, get the right recommendations. Like, do I place it on Roku? Do I place it on, YouTube TV, or just straight up and down YouTube? Do I place it on Hulu? Or, it kind of going to give you like those kind of recommendations, right? Also, I guess they're trying to take on social, and it's going to be interesting because, I guess the new TV is social if you think about it. So that's going to be funny to see how these guys are going to more or less, take this buying of inventory in terms of, ads from the perspective of like streaming, and they want to apply that to social media. So I guess Meta, they're the only social media company I really. I guess they're going to have to really kind of figure that out, right? Like how they're going to more or less use this technology to, take on social. That's it. Okay, moving on from the ad world to the OG tech world. One would say Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, is, obviously one of those guys, or those platforms to help kind of grow social media, right? When it comes to like, people being able to communicate with, at the time, 120 characters, I think it's up to like 240. But, since that platform has switched over to something to be more of a, Elon's, sounding board or bullhorn. Nonetheless, what happened recently is that the platform introduced this new chatbot, this AI chatbot into it called Grok. It's spelled Grok. Hopefully I'm saying it right, but they're not paying me, so fuck them. Anyway, this platform is really allowing for this like direct integration when it comes to messaging. So it seems like they're going to replace the DMs and let this chatbot more or less be the DM. But it also has a standalone app as well. So this approach to, this new AI chatbot is Elon's new way of, rolling out a new product from his company called XAI, which is a competitor to ChatGPT. Now, for a lot of you guys that don't know, Elon, Sam Altman, whatever his name is, you guys essentially started OpenAI as a nonprofit. And the first product that came out of OpenAI was ChatGPT. Well, we won't get into that, but you know what it is. Long story short, one of the greatest, smartest chatbots on the planet, in my opinion. That didn't make Elon very happy, right? He was pretty pissed off about that. So it seems that this is his effort to kind of, put another player in the game when it comes to smart chatbots. You currently got Gemini from Google. You got ChatGPT, which is kind of like the leader in the game. And now you got this Grok. Now, I played around with it. It's pretty cool. It works. It's mostly getting most of his data from Twitter and maybe some of the open web. It can't do a lot of the same things as ChatGPT yet, which is kind of have a back and forth natural conversation when you don't have to type anything. You still have to kind of input things. It don't have like this AI voice. And plus, it seems that ChatGPT still have, an inherent advantage of allowing people to kind of create their own GPTs from the platform. I'm going to assume Grok, whatever, is going to more or less have those same type of ambitions, but that's where it's at when it comes to the newest game of chatbots, more or less out here in the world. So check it out, download it. Don't like it, totally up to you. I think it's worth a try, right? So if you guys want to really dive deep into the new world of AI, why not try out things? You may not have to like the person who created it, but it is what it is. So check it out. Capping off the news, we're going to talk about Meta, specifically the decision coming from Mark Zuckerberg about ending this third-party fact-checking program with all these different apps, which is Facebook, Instagram, Threads, WhatsApp, and whatever else, right? But it seems that, MAGA has hit Meta. But let's just be honest, right? Meta has been a platform that has it just goes the way of the wind, what's winning at the time, right? Where it's going to be copying from other platforms, how it's kind of took stories from Snapchat, or it kind of took the feed concept from Twitter. So Meta, and even the platform itself, Facebook was stolen from those dudes from, Cambridge, those twins. Don't need to know their name. You can Google it. But yeah, so that's kind of been Meta's whole MO, which is they're going to basically form to be the right company at the right time. Now, you can get mad at that, right? It's just doing business in America. But I must say that if we're now saying that the current business of America is this idea of a MAGA mentality, and Facebook is literally a Meta deciding to get rid of the third-party fact checking, I think that's kind of a problem, especially in the world of AI. Humans passing misinformation, whether unintentionally or intentionally. Yeah, that might be a problem, right? So it seems that they're taking the same approach as Twitter or X in terms of letting the community add notes to comments when something is wrong. The only problem with that is that it's going to be a lot of potential increase of hate speeches and people just saying things. And I guess, this idea of protecting free speech, I get it. It's cool to have free speech, but let's keep it real, right? Like, free speech don't mean that it's actually you're free to just say what you want. And you can. Hey, it's America. But you can say some things that people may not like, and it may sue you, or do some things to sue you or whatever. But I do think overall, this idea of taking on things such as just taking out the fact checking of it all I feel like it's a problem, but who knows, right? Now, if you're feeling a way about that, then maybe you should check out some of these other platforms. Fanbase, Spill, Blue Sky, which was started by Jack Dorsey. Blue Sky is like the alternative to Twitter. Jack Dorsey, one of the creators of Twitter. Maybe check that out. Now, Fanbase, this is not an ad, but this is me just supporting the culture. Started by Isaac Hayes Jr. out of Atlanta, Georgia. Essentially having a lot of the same capabilities as Instagram, right? It even kind of has like a Clubhouse live chat or live talking capability as well. I think it's a really cool app. We just need more of us on it to kind of give it that love, right? Give it some feedback. They can iterate it more and scale it, right? And I do think Fanbase could be something, it's mostly African Americans on it, but it can be for anybody. It's not just for Black people. Now, you got Spill Mob, or just Spill. Now, that's, in my opinion, very dope visual platform. I know some of the owners or the actual creators of it used to be some people who worked at Twitter. They left Twitter for whatever reasons. Well, you can Google it, and a lot of obvious reasons. But the real reason is that these guys decided to start a new platform that brings the culture of memes. And it seems that Black people in particular, we love memes. Now, memes, everybody uses memes. It's just a very simple way to kind of communicate a lot without saying a lot. This whole notion of a picture's worth 1,000 words. But in today's world, a picture's really worth a million ideas. So yeah, check out Spill. They kind of use the platform where you can post photos, GIFs, or GIFs, depending on where you're from, as well as kind of combine it with text. So check that out, right? Check out Spill. There may be some other, social platforms I just can't think of at the moment, but do your own research. Maybe that's other ways to just do social media. Hey, the best social media app on your phone right now, technically it's your Messenger app, right? The one come native to your phone. So that's going to be like the best one you can more or less use, right? You can share everything. It's intimate. It's your own private little network. Yeah, consider that as well. Get off social for a while. It'll make your life so much easier. Take a little social detox. It's okay. These guys will be around if you want to come back. There it is. Moving right along. Let's talk about this thing I'm calling the Graphite Pro Tool Tip of the day. I want to bring you guys really cool things to use, especially tools, right? Tools are essentially what makes us human, right? I think we're the only animal on this planet, because let's keep it real, humans are animals. We just separate ourselves from that world. We're the only animal that actually more or less created our own set of tools based out of, not having certain tools, right? Not having claws or fur or, infrared vision at night or night vision or wings to fly. But tools are inherently like a human invention, and I'm a big fan of tools, right? Especially since tools evolve, right? I think about the abacus as an example. The abacus, we use that to like tabulate and count things in these marketplaces, way back in the days. Now we're using, calculators and AI at this point. You can just talk to your phone to kind of do some quick, mathematical equations or whatever, right? So I'm a big fan of like tools. Now, that said, let's talk about tools when it comes to B-roll footage. B-roll footage is a beautiful thing, especially if you're like want to tell stories when it comes to like a brand story or some type of film or short documentary or whatever. B-roll is probably one of the more important things in any kind of content, right? It kind of contextualizes the overall plot and the narrative. It also kind of helps you follow the story along, and it's filler, right? Now, think about B-roll as you used to, prior to, I guess, stock or even with this AI revolution. It was that thing that, certain companies would just do that exclusively, would shoot B-roll for, like I said, for film, TV, and now they're using it for internet content. Well, with these certain tools like, these OpenAI tools, or these specifically around Sora or a couple other video guys, you can actually create B-rolls from prompts, like literally from copy ideas you're thinking in your head. Now, especially if you want to create B-roll pretty quickly, right? Like a 5-second clip to like a little 10-second clip, right? B-roll could be one of those things. I think it's just a user experience to like, especially like even like a product. Recently, I've been using Sora to kind of play around with B-roll footage, kind of reminiscent of the neighborhood I live in, which is Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. Think about like B-roll or the type of shots you want to use. Maybe you want to do a drone shot, right? Well, flying a drone here in New York City is kind of illegal. So unless you got like a permit or a action license to fly a drone, let alone like a commercial rated drone that has a very good camera on it, maybe you want to use some B-roll or AI B-roll to kind of create that footage, right? Also, think about it in this, context. We're dealing with a lot of issues with the environment. Certain places like Hollywood right now can't film because of the fires. Sometimes in my home state of Georgia, specifically Atlanta, Georgia, hey, they may deal with like tropical storms and tornadoes, right? So being able to shoot down there may be an issue. Is there a way to kind of use B-roll to offset costs either through natural disasters? Maybe it's, unfortunately when there may be a strike. There's going to be another studio shutdown. That's just the nature of what we do. And I welcome that. Like, I think actors, actresses, writers, and directors should strike when they feel like they're being treated unfair. But, Hollywood and TV is just going to continue. So, ain't even down to like the person, like the individual. It's good to have these tools to kind of generate content on a demand when you need it, as well as, just for personal use or even like small business use or whatever. So, check it out, right? Using B-roll created from AI, specifically like Sora. Well, good peoples, that's Graphite for this week. Been fun talking. It's kind of short, but sometimes certain stories don't need to be long, so stories don't need to be short. They just need to be the right amount of time. So, also, please subscribe, share, love this podcast. I want as many people to learn more about Graphite as we're building together. Also, feel free to learn more about Caffeine, which is the podcast network that's distributing Graphite. We have 5 other shows on it. We have We Love Trap. We got things about dope TV. We got another podcast specifically around fatherhood called The Stages. We got the Ad Bros archive, so definitely check that out. And we also got a really beautiful podcast by my friend Michelle Washington, who's a phenomenal design, just savant, right? So she has a podcast on our network as well. It's called Curious Story Lab. So again, please check out Caffeine and all the different shows that are on that network. Glad you guys are coming along for the journey. And, it's going to be nice. It's going to be fun. I'm just really excited and just pumped about everything that's going to be done here at Graphite Pro Radio. So let's keep the conversation going. You guys stay safe, be happy, stay cool, stay creative, be human. Peace.
You've been tuned into Graphite Radio, where creativity meets culture. part of the Caffeine Audio Network and proudly distributed by Pepper Labs. Thanks for joining us on this journey of ideas, art, and innovation. Be sure to subscribe and stay connected for more stories that shape the world we create. Until next time, keep sketching your vision into reality.